car that I'm going to borrow with a buddy, but I really would like to drive it. So I have been working, and I've filmed some stuff, but I've done a bunch of things that I didn't film. Some of it was like, it's already on YouTube. I can even put some links in descriptions of stuff that I can recognize. But some of it was just, you forget, and I'm a guy that when I work, I just dive in. It's the running, it's always the joke. It's, some guys plan things out, some guys do this. I just dive in and go. Because realistically, again, I don't have a ton of time. So what I'm going to do in this video is give a full rundown of everything that I've been doing and what I have left to do. So we're going to start at the back. A million people have shown doing this, and it's super awkward, but there's the old diff, which is sold. And there's the new guy, 370. Limited slip, 40% locker. You can also see my nice Turner Motorsport camber arm, my ground control sway, my MK rear diffuser, lots of good stuff. AST coilovers, but nonetheless, diff is in. Message me if you want to see some kind of video on that. I can link it, or I can explain it to you pretty easily. The next thing that I've been doing, AMS oil, AMS oil, AMS oil, AMS oil. So between the S54 car and this car, we've got break-in oil that's going to be in both of them initially. This one very quickly, because all I have to do is bed cams. The other car needs break-in miles. But then they're both getting a AMS oil mixture. Dominator, high zinc, built motors, you want that good stuff. So we will be running a 40 weight mixture. Now, AMS oil doesn't make a direct 40 weight anymore. They make a 1550 and a 1030 in their Dominator. So essentially we're going to go half and half. Makes us to a 40 weight. Talk to a bunch of people, including AMS oil, and that's good. And I mean, here, I'll say it every which way. I'm not sponsored by them. I paid this. I am in their wholesale program, which gets you a cool discount. But they're local. Their zinc content is right up there with the best oils. This motor's ran on it since it's been new, and it's the stuff. So anyways, there's my little plug. I've raised my coilovers, rear and front. You're gonna go, why? Why would you do that? And I'm the first guy that likes a low car, but the fact of the matter is that if you haven't seen them, I've got these guys, brand spanking new Titan 7, 17 by 9.5 plus 35 with the brand new Bridgestone RE71. I think they call them RS, RS. So these are brand spanking new, brand new design. Side note, part of the reason I went with these ones is the old RE71s ran a little bit narrower than other companies' 255s. The new ones have matched those other companies, so these suckers are wide. Now, I do have rolled fenders on the car already. Not massive. I still have fender liners. We're going to see if we can keep those. But I've got to get these wheels on this car, because in theory, this car, hopefully the next couple days, is going to be at least rolling out of the garage onto a trailer to go get the rest of its exhaust done. But nonetheless, I have dialed in a bit more camber, but we have also just raised our ride height. So that is that stuff. Side note, there's my old cylinder head. So I've got to give this to Travis in exchange. But that's the guy we pulled off. I finished up, these are my new injectors. They're 60-pound E85 compatibles. They sit a bit taller, so I had to make this little bracket here so I could fully secure the fuel rail down with the air rail. So I got that all done. Lots of work has been completed on the cams. A lot of stuff. I'm going to link Perry from Alien Engineering. He does a full video description of essentially everything that I did. But I'm going to give a quick overview. So we have the cams fully seated in. They have been shimmed. So when you buy fancy cams, or in general, if you buy performance cams, you usually get dealt a cam card. This guy here. It lists lots of different numbers, and I've slowly been learning what these are. So the first one that you want to see here is lash ramp, 0.2 millimeters, or 0.008 of an inch. take your feeler gauge, and essentially, I have a clip of taking them apart, but I've shimmed with the Alien Engineering kit, so all of my buckets are shimmed to 8 thousandths or 0.2 of an inch. I was actually pretty happy how well it came all apart and well done. Side note, it's just something that's really, really cool. And I think I got my wall of shame, everybody. So, quarter of the original JPS car. When we cut it up, I kept the fuel door piece. A camshaft that I burnt in half because I put the cam trays in backwards. They're oil fed a specific way. You put them in backwards, you're gonna oil starve your cams. But I wanted to show this for reference. This is an S50 cam. I believe this is the S50 exhaust cam. So I just kind of wanted to show for retrospect. So here's the lobes on an S50 cam. Here's the lobes on my cam. If you can truly just see, it's hard. Oh, here, you know what? We can measure it right here. The size difference. It is bonkers how much bigger these guys are. They're huge, and I can't wait to hear this thing run. It's gonna be a beast. Anyways, I'm jabbering about this stuff. Hang on, let's put this guy back. Stay. All right, cool. So cams are in. I have already measured to the valve clearance to piston. So essentially, because we have custom pistons in this car, custom valves, cams, we want to know how much clearance is there between the valve and the head to touching the piston at top dead center. So essentially what I did was I had the head on loosely, very lightly bolted it down with its old head gasket. I had a little bit of clay on the top of the piston. I then essentially bolted the cam in, turned the cam so it put the piston down till it hit. And when I did that, I had taken, so I took an angle meter, set it on the back of this, it's flat, took the angle meter, turned the cam until it touched, measured again. What I found is I have 13.5 degrees of distance between up and down for this cam. So that means I have 13.5 degrees to play with. So obviously you want to do a little bit less than that. The intake cam, or sorry, exhaust cam has a ton more room the way the lobes work, because this is factory top dead center. This cam's slightly off, but anyways, this is factory top dead center. So when you turn this cam, you can see these lobes are going to push that valve down a lot quicker than these lobes back here. They're going to go all the way around. So you don't worry about this, but we have, again, 13.5, which is decent room. That's some decent room to play with. What that really means, though, is we're definitely not going to be running Vanos. We may try to shim it later. So stock Vanos advances the intake cam 6 degrees. So you also want to take into account, even with how strongly I have these lashed, you got about 3 to 4 degrees of play in that lash from what I measured. And so what that means is 3 to 4 degrees plus 6 degrees, you're talking give or take about 10 degrees. That gives zero room for advancing timing, because what we want to do, we want to advance this intake cam as much as we can. It's going to help with power, but it also brings back compression a little bit, which the more compression we can get out of this motor, the better. So again, we're more than likely, initially we're not going to run any Vanos. We may try to dial in later, but that's what that's going to be. So that's been done. So the head is now fully bolted on. Advantage again of ARP head bolts, you can reuse them, which is really nice. So heads are bolted on, cams are bolted on. They were a giant pain in the butt because this has 90-pound valve springs in it for how much revs we're going to be throwing at it. So, whew, cams were hard to put on, but they're on. That's done. The other awesome thing, the Bimmer World S54 stepped headers are on there. Now, when I say stepped, you can see it here. So here's the tube coming off the head, comes down, goes into the next tube. That's stepped bigger. going to go down further, steps, 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 steps. Constantly gets bigger. That's got two benefits. Very good flow, but the steps are actually going to help retain a little bit of torque because of the way that the exhaust gas pressure goes through and has a little bit of resistance. Super free-flowing exhaust. You're going to get more horsepower in theory, but you're going to lose torque. And it's one of the issues. S54s really have that problem. They lose torque really easily. If the guys that run essentially the kind of exhaust I'm going to put on this car, which is a 3.5 inch basically straight, you lose so much torque. You'll get horsepower, but you lose torque, and you need torque. You know, if you're straight race tracking it, you want horsepower. You're always in the upper rev range. Is not so bad. Autocrossing, street driving, you want some torque. And I am going to autocross this car a lot. I'm going to do track days in it, but it's more of a street and autocross car. So even though we're making power, I want to get some torque out of it. So, but you can't see it greatly. I got a light down here. So, but we got the really nice. So, another plug. Race German, he makes this stud kit. So the stock, you can actually see, I had to use for clearance purposes, I had to use like one stock nut. You can just see it right there. So his stud kit is really nice. You don't have to double nut them on like the OEM studs. It's actually got a Torx bit on the end of it that makes putting them in. And you get these really nice big nuts that are also Torx index. So you can use the nut every rounds, you got a Torx input here. So super nice kit. I also, if anyone's wondering, I actually did clearance the exhaust gaskets that these headers are bolted to make sure they match up to the porting on the head. So those are on. They fit just. I had to slightly shave down. I got to clean it up on the frame rail a bit, but I had to slightly shave down this motor mount arm. It's still well reinforced to fit the header over it, but there is some nice clearance. It'll be able to flex. I still got to get a cap for the EGR, but I've bunged up all the O2s because I am running an OBD1 harness, so it's one oxygen sensor, and I don't want it in either header because then you're not getting a true reading of all the cylinders. So we're going to mount that farther down in the exhaust. So that's done. I already shoved the radiator in, but that's in. But yeah, so that's all on. Which is really exciting. So I actually, and then the other thing I did, I actually profiled the cams. This is something else I have not ever done before. I'm going to put a link again in the description to Perry at Alien Engineering. His video beautifully explains it. And what you're doing is, again, back to this. So this cam card states that these are 298 and 290 duration at 0.1 millimeter. At 1.0 millimeters, it's 260, 252. So essentially what I had to do was with a basically a gauge that uses a pin that sits down on here, I can measure, you profile the cam. Because what this also states is at a perfect 0.2 lash as you get these numbers. And also, the other thing we're checking is the lobe angle. Is this truly the lobe angle? A lot of times it isn't. You will get cams that are slightly off from what they state it is. Manufacturing purposes, whatever it is. I got really lucky. Lobe angle's perfect on these cams. It's exactly what the cam card states, and actually the durations are right on the money. When I measured them out, I wrote it down, I had like 288 versus 290, and that just makes up for the slight difference in valve lash. Again, watch, if you're truly interested, watch Perry's video. He explains it beautifully, and you need to do it because had these been off, again, I'm going to be running very aggressive timing, especially if you're retaining vanos. You're going to ask for problems. You need to know every spec of those camshafts. So that's done. The next thing that is on, so at this point, I am waiting to hear back from Mission from Rabbit Racing on where he wants me to set my cams at. Once I know that, it's set cams, put the rest of the timing back together, boom, that's ready to go. I can put oil in the car. I have to finish, and then at that point, once that's done and the valve cover is on, I need to finish. I got to run over This is, again, my wiring for my flex fuel sensor that I got to run to that cool ribbon cable over there. Again, it's because the plug works beautifully in the ECU. But I got to wire this up. So I've got switched power, ground, signal. So these two are going to go to the ECU. This has got to go to a switched power, so I'm going to run that somewhere over here. But I got to do that. Then the next thing is this guy. So this is a OBD1 engine harness. Bought it from eBay. It's plug that whole thing in and then plug in the ECU. I'm going to drill a small hole in the back of the box here into the cabin to run the ECU's USB wire so that I can plug the laptop in the car to get readings. But it's wire up the ECU. It's wire up the engine, plumb the rest of the cooling system, make sure the motor turns over cleanly, and then at that point it's going to be firing up this link and start putting in initial numbers. Again, all I'm trying to do here is get the car to idle and bed the cams in. What do I mean by bedding the cams in? When I get this all running and fire this up, I want to get the cams to about 2,000 to 3,000 RPMs. Again, I'm going what I've heard from experts that I know and read. Everyone has a different opinion, but I want to bed these lobes into the lifters. I also want to do that because I want to get that warmed up a bit and then recheck the lash, make sure nothing's crazy out of whack or anything like that. But I need to do that, double check I've got no crazy leaks. When I do that, I'm going to have a non-synthetic generic oil with zinc, a massive amount of zinc additive for the bed. Also, that's good because that's going to flush all the junk, dust, whatever that's gotten in here. Get that in, get that back out, change the filter, and then rock the AMSOIL. Once I do that, I'm ready to go to Castle. So I think I found an exhaust shop that is gonna finish doing the rest of the exhaust. So at this point, it's gonna be probably a push tow over there, haven't finished the exhaust. I am still working on the 6-to-1. I've had a little bit of difficulty. That header is a hard header to get the adapter plates welded to because the pipes are all so close together. I've dropped it off at another guy, but again, because of the time crunch, I may not have that ready. I am for sure 100% going to be using that header at some point. I want to see what it can do. It's definitely going to make more power. It's just a question of how much torque it's going to lose. So, but that's the game plan. I'm really hoping in the next week or so to have a lot of that done. I also have, just for some updates, JPS, we're still dealing with the leaning out issue. The car is now at Clint's house, one of the co-owners of it, and our thoughts at this point is that it is something to do with the ITBs out of sync. We have had issues with those specific ITBs on the previous engine setup and stuff like that, but we're 90% sure that's the issue. We're working with getting with someone that can help us do that. In the meantime, so that's basically we need to get the lean issue to fix and then drive it, break it in, change the oil. That thing's ready to rock and roll. I have a side job coming in later this week. Pretty simple side job. It's a Z3 4-cylinder race car. Legit was bought as a race car. It was actually originally bought by one of the garages at Autobahn Raceway, but my buddy Tony owns it, and he's dropped it with me. He just bought it last winter, but I am gonna do new seat with a new frame rail to get that thing sitting as low as he can because he's tall like me, and we got to keep him under the roll bar. I've got a new shifter for that car. I've got new cooling system for that car, new brake pads, new brake lines. Just get it ready so that he can send it and put as many laps as he can on that car. So that's coming this week. Again, that's side gig. That's not this car. Again, everything is on this car. It's close. It really, really, really is close. I am beyond excited to see what this thing can do. It's going to have hiccups. It's going to be fun. I mean, standalone's awesome. It's going to require a lot of love. Again, thank you, Jim at Castle. Thank you, Travis at GDM. Thank you, Mishon at Rabid. Thank you, Perry at Alien Engineering. Even though we've never physically talked in person, your information's been massively helpful. But those guys have really taught me so much doing this, and they're making it to where we've got one badass engine going together. I mean, this is going to be cool. So I am talking a whole bunch, but I figured this is an easy video. I don't have to edit much, and I can get it up and at least show you guys what we got going on. Last side note thing is, gonna try to get this wired in before the dyno, at least after. It's just some nice auto meter, oil temp, oil pressure, water temp gauges that are gonna go right down there, replace the factory pockets. So, but yeah, that's the game plans. Thank you again. So this is probably gonna go up, and then you're gonna see other videos, because I'm still working on editing the oil pump install that I did on this. Some of the early lifter stuff, it's all mishmashed together, but I at least wanted to get an update video and try to explain what we got going on. Again, any questions, hit me up on Instagram, Facebook, 11 Tenths Racing, comment below, be cool. And again, you got any ideas, anything you want to see, any questions you got, ask away. Have a great night, guys, and I will be talking to you more soon. Bye.